I've been reading about how there have been sort of low-level attacks on the Attorney General Eric Schneiderman coming from people who are in the finance world, particularly this Wiley. What's her name? Is it Catherine Wiley? Catherine Wild. She is the head of the Partnership for New York City, and I think she also sits on some board that may be related to the Fed in some way. And she was going out there criticizing Eric Schneiderman for being so aggressive with the banks. And she was doing so on behalf of Bank of America. And if you're like, oh, okay, well, she's the CEO for the Partnership of New York City. It's like a business investment group for New York City. And you want to protect Bank of America because they have their, they have an HQ in New York City. And so you want to cover their ass, except for they don't have an HQ in New York City. And in fact, they rejected moving it there over a year ago. So they're not really a big jobs maker in New York City. So now we have this report from the New York Times that Eric Schneiderman has come under increasing pressure from the Obama administration to drop his opposition to this big 50-state settlement that many, but not all, state attorney generals have signed on to with the banks over their fraudulent foreclosure practices. Practices which they supposedly have stopped, but they are still ongoing. Things like robo-signing. To try and essentially mislead courts into believing that they have evidentiary proof of a chain of title which would allow them to foreclose on people. So he's getting this pressure from the Department of Justice. And when I tweeted out that President Obama is pressuring Schneiderman to stop his reluctance to sign on to this agreement, which would essentially make it impossible to pursue other investigations against these banks in this area, I got tweeted back, Eric Holder is not Barack Obama. And there is supposed to be some measure of independence between the Department of Justice and the Obama administration. Fine. Forget the fact that Eric Holder is proving himself to be an incredible corporate hack who was appointed by President Obama. And they have yet to be any indication that they are not in sync on this. But fine, fair enough. Sean Donovan, however, the Secretary of HUD, serves at the pleasure of the president, just as Holder does. But there is no tradition of the Secretary of HUD being independent from President Obama or from the president. That cabinet position is no more independent from that than any other cabinet position or anybody else in the administration, in the executive branch. Sean Donovan has been waging an intensifying campaign to persuade the Attorney General to support the settlement. Schneiderman and top prosecutors in other states have objected to the proposed settlement with major banks, saying it would restrict their ability to investigate, prosecute wrongdoing in a variety of areas. So what does Mr. Donovan say as to why he should sign off on this bill? Well, we have a housing crisis in this country. We have a mortgage crisis in this country. And this deal provides $20 billion. That is a pittance. A pittance relative to the proven fraud that has existed in this system, relative to the amount of mortgage obligation on these fraudulent mortgages and loans that are owed by people whose houses are underwater or in foreclosure proceedings. $20 billion towards loan modifications. Are you kidding me? That wouldn't even put a dent in what we're looking at. Wouldn't put a dent in it. And what does Sean Donovan say as to why he is pressuring Schneiderman? Well, he goes on to say that we have the immediate opportunity to help a huge number of borrowers stay in their homes, to help their neighborhoods and the housing market. Speaking of Schneiderman, he might argue that he has more leverage that way, but this is our view, that we have this immediate opportunity, and we can rush assistance to people. Yeah, the deal's not so great, but we can rush assistance to people. Well, newsflash. For the HUD secretary who's apparently not aware, that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, own a huge percentage of mortgages in this country at this point, which are underwater, maybe over 50%. And because the U.S. government has taken over Fannie and Freddie in these instances, the U.S. government could immediately act to cram down the principal on these loans, could provide modifications directly on these loans, and they could just be done with it right there without having to undercut the ability to keep the banksters accountable. But the Obama administration is doing this. And that Secretary of HUD, I got news for you. He's not freelancing. Secretary of HUD doesn't freelance. So if you want an insight into whose asses are being protected throughout this entire crisis, here is exhibit number, 50, 30, 10, that this administration is more protective of the banks than they are people who have been subjected to the fraud perpetrated by these banks. I don't know how you can argue with that. I'm open to it, but don't tell me that HUD is freelancing. And it's just quite a coincidence that the Department of Justice is coordinating their efforts to pressure Schneiderman. Who knew?
Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining.